Welcome and thank you for tuning into JoyTutor, the podcast. I am JoAnna Williams, your host, also known as Jo the Joy Tutor. Get ready to unpack, learn, and celebrate the journey of becoming a thriving entrepreneur. In this space, we are trailblazers who stand in our power and boldly manifest our biggest dreams. Welcome, Azizah.
Hi.
Thank you so much, honey, for joining the JoyTutor podcast. It has been a long time coming. I will truthfully say, life is happening. And you reminded me via text, like, hey, are we still on tonight? And that sadness was like, that's just, I said, nope. There will never be a perfect time, right?
Absolutely.
Life will always happen. So we are here. And I shared that because that was for anyone who may be going through something and their dreams are being delayed because you're going through something.
Absolutely.
So no more delay. So with that being said, I am going to pass it over to you so you can introduce yourself. Let us know who you are.
Okay. Well, hey, everyone. My name is Azizah, and I am a therapist. I am the owner of a private therapy practice called Healing on Us. And I am also the co-author of a book anthology called From Hurting to Healing. And so I'm excited to be here to have this conversation and be able to uplift anyone that might be tuning in and watching this. And so, yeah. Thank you for welcoming me.
Oh, you are most welcome. So let me have the opening question. Now that you are in the space of doing what you've always dreamed, right? You're independent, you have your freedom to create your own schedule, just create your own energy in this world and give back based on your own time, your own way. What have you learned since then in this space of freedom?
Okay. I've learned a lot. So I'll start with the first thing that came up for me when you were talking about this space of freedom, and when you started before your introduction into introducing me to JoyTutor, everyone that's watching, was life happening and you deciding to continue to have this podcast interview despite life happening. Because what I learned is that I'm not fearless, right? And it's like, I felt like I knew it before, but I would try to not be fearful. Once I had acceptance that that is something that comes up for me, I was able to push past fear. That part matters so much because even in the midst of this freedom and me doing what I want to do, I have moments where I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I left a solid job that was paying me well, and I knew consistently every single week or every 2 weeks, because that's how often I would get paid, what I was going to get. So when I started this entrepreneurial journey, I had to go into the marketplace. That was one thing, which I'm still grateful for, that I had the opportunity to have health insurance, but it wasn't coming from an employer anymore. So my rates skyrocketed. And then I had to go from having people that were able to be a part of a team in which, even though there was pressure because I was managing it, there was still like other people. It wasn't solo. It wasn't just me. So fear comes up for me. Anxiety comes up for me. And I like to be transparent about that because I think that fear and anxiety and life happening, as you mentioned, are the three things that will keep people from moving forward, because they'll be in this space of, when this happens, then I'll do it. If I waited for fear to leave me, I would never be where I'm at right now. If I was dependent on this fear not being there, every time it came up, I would have decided to quit. Right? It would have just been this roller coaster ride of me going back to another nonprofit or someone's 9 to 5 because it felt safer, because this fear was coming up for me. So that was one of the things that I learned along this journey. The other thing, right, was me just realizing what was for me and what I was no longer going to settle for. And so that shows up for me just like well-rounded across the board in my life, with my relationship, with the friends that I have around me, with my business, and with myself, right? Because I can like tolerate certain things on a one-to-one basis, not take care of myself, not get rest when I need to, not engage in self-care. And so when I realized what I wanted and stuck with my values, then I saw the difference in the energy that was even around me. Because I know that was like such a pivotal part of me being where I'm at right now, because people, places, things, they discuss that in programs like AA and NA because it's true. Like people, places, and things can certainly bring you down. And
Yes.
sometimes I think that there's difficulty in releasing those things. One, because it's normal to you, right? Similar to how I was discussing being at another organization, because there was this complacency. It's like, okay, I'm good here, right? I know
Yeah.
what to expect. We do the
Yeah.
same thing with the people in our lives and the places that we decide to be in. There's normalcy and complacency with that. So when you step out of those circles, you're really stepping out in faith, but
Yeah.
you're also stepping on your standards, right? You have
Mm.
your foundation because you're saying, I'm not going to settle for less than what I know is meant for me. Takes courage. And you can still have
Yes.
fear and courage, and that's okay, because you're not going to let the fear take over. The
That's
courage
right.
comes from like, I'm going to move in spite of the fear. I'm going to release you in spite of the fear of what like might happen. Who's going to come next? As long as it ain't you, right? It's like, that's okay. That is all right.
Absolutely.
So this journey, this place of freedom, what I learned is that I had to be firm
Mhm.
on what was for me and set boundaries that I wasn't willing to waver on.
That's
Mm,
powerful. I think of it as when you said your values, most large companies have a set of principles and
yeah.
values, right? That they
Mhm.
say that their employees must live out and work in accordance to. And it's so powerful and profound because when you created your own set of values and principles, right? Best
Yeah.
practices,
Mhm.
and said, this is what I wake up and live by. Here's my blueprint. That really helps to filter how the people, places, right, and things
Absolutely.
affect you, because now you have guardrails,
Yes.
literally
Yeah.
guardrails. As you were saying, people stepping on you. I just want to talk about the people portion of
Okay.
having freedom. As I've been going through this transformational rebirthing year, started exactly a year ago, I'm finding that the shedding process of who I was and the energy that was connected to those people in my life at that time, it's a little difficult.
Mm.
It's difficult because I now know my worth. And so things that were acceptable a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, they when they do show up, it hits me differently.
Mhm.
It's very uncomfortable. And I'm like, oh no, 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 no. Oh no, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
That did not feel loving or feel respectful, or just it didn't feel positive.
Mhm.
And so I'm able to clearly see where I have allowed some to take advantage of me, and where I have, again, not having values and principles around my own self worth at times, where folks expect for you to show up in a way
Yes.
that you always showed up. And now that I'm no longer doing those things and I'm I've shifted my perspective about myself. And now I'm pushing back and saying no. And that's not coming across and being received
Mhm.
in a positive way. So I have been doing some cutting of cords, energetic cords in relationships. And it's different. It's difficult. The
Mhm.
transition period
Yep.
is difficult. You made a comment before we started recording was that, you asked one of your clients, and you think to yourself, would you accept that from a man? Speaking of like from girlfriend to girlfriend, good
Yeah.
Judy to good Judy, would you accept that from your male lover or romantic partner?
Mhm.
That really resonated with me. And I've been thinking about that.
Yeah.
That's where I am. I'm no longer accepting it. And it's hard. It's hard.
Absolutely. And I think that the transparency that you just shared will definitely support someone that is experiencing something very similar. It is hard. It's not easy. And I share with people that the first step for any type of growth is acknowledgement. Like we have to acknowledge that this is not working. And that can sometimes be difficult because once we acknowledge, similarly to what's happening with you, where you're like, ooh, that doesn't feel good. It's like now we can't ignore it because I'm saying to myself, something is happening in my life, whether I'm doing it to myself or someone else is doing it to me that I don't like. And I can't ignore it anymore. So now when it happens, you're like faced with this feeling that it was there before, but we bypass it.
Yeah.
We take it as like, oh, that's just them. And so my comment to you was about, yeah, would you, if that was a woman, because I was talking to someone that was in a relationship with a man, if that was one of your female friends, would you, pardon me, if that was your man, she was talking to you about a friend, would you accept that? Would you accept that treatment? And it can be vice versa because sometimes it is a romantic partner and the treatment is accepted. It can be a parent,
Hmm.
right? It can be an adult child. And I'm like, just really getting to like these pain points. It can be a spouse, a grandparent, right? Someone's title does not give them permission to put you below where you're supposed to be. But the other piece of that is they're going to continue to do that unless you initiate the change, right? Because as you shared with recognizing your worth makes it your responsibility to show other people how you want to be treated. And it's difficult because sometimes people will have fear about if they're not around, who else will be? And I normalize that. Like there's no judgment around this concern of what's going to happen. Like I'm in this position now of talking about this stuff and saying in this powerful way what it looks like to honor yourself, but I wasn't always there, right? Just being fully transparent and you know, because we know each other personally, but I wasn't always there. So I could never look at someone and cast judgment. Is so not about that. But my hope is to always look at someone and be able to say that it can look different. Like the where you're at now doesn't have to be where you are tomorrow, a month from now, next year. And yes, it's the process. I'm never saying like cut the cord tonight and move on, but I'm like, now you know, as you
Yeah.
share, this doesn't feel right. So when it doesn't feel right, then you ask yourself, why am I even doing this? Like, what benefit am I getting from this place, this relationship, this friendship? Because toxicity comes in many forms. Okay, so we recognize that, and then we have a choice to make, right? It's
Yeah.
our worth that we're showing. And so someone else isn't going to honor it. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah. We have to
Right?
show up for ourselves, right?
Yes.
There's that responsibility. That's the difference.
Mhm.
Now that I have come to terms with who I am as a person, and I had to go through the process of going, all the way back to literally, and I know this has been going around a lot and trending, healing your inner child, but I
Mhm.
literally had to heal my inner child. And what that looked like was me walking through guided meditations where I would walk up, see a tree out in the distance. And
Mhm.
I see someone sitting there. As I'm walking closer and closer, I see a child, right? And I had to think about how old was I when I
Mm.
first felt the pain of someone telling me I was unworthy or I was unloved. And it took me back to when I was 13. And I walked up to 13-year-old JoAnna and I said, I want you to know that you are loved.
Wow.
You are worthy. No matter what this world tells you, you do not have to perform to be
Mm.
loved.
Mm.
And so coming out of that, and of course, that's just a very high level example. Um,
Yeah.
so on the other side of that is what I've learned is I have been performing to feel love because I was so fearful of rocking the boat, so fearful of using my voice. This goes to the throat chakra, um, feeling punished because the pattern had recently where I was just open and honest and from a
Mhm.
place and space of love saying, here's my truth on this. This
Yeah,
is how it made me feel, but I just can't show up to perform anymore.
that's right.
I'm going through something and I can't be the JoAnna or the Joe that I used to be, where I would say yes, 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 at the expense of my own well being.
Mhm.
And to have the voice and the courage to say that, and then to sit back and feel the backlash of that was hard. And then when you get the confirmation that, oh, that's what this was, you can't unsee it.
That's right.
You can't, you look at the relationship different. It just, the energy feels different. And there's a grieving process that happens. Um, and then there's a space where I've come to terms and I'm at peace. But at the same time, while I'm dealing with this, life is still happening.
Mhm.
I'm still a mother. I'm still in a relationship with my life partner here, and work is still work. But at the same time, I have this passion. Here it is, JoyTutor, where I know I can reach and teach and heal. But how does the healer find the space to heal?
Come on now. Mhm.
And here we are today. Again, my dog of 16 years passed. My daughter is hurting, and my hair is falling out like crazy.
Mhm.
Lost like at least 75% of my hair. And I'm here though. I'm here. I'm still here. And to anyone out there going through anything, get back up.
That's right.
Get back up. I'm
That is
here.
so true. Yes. If it's not on a t-shirt, you need to put it on one. Life is still happening because I love that. It's because it's so true. I can't tell you how many times people come to me about happiness. Hey, it's like I'm not happy
Mhm.
and I want to be. And that's what they're coming to me for. And I know when they say that, like, you're hurting, I'm hurting, it's painful. And I get that. And that some things are just really, really difficult to work through and get past. But what I also know, and I don't know where this quote came from, but when I had, this is like my earlier years of being a therapist, I think it was like my first year or two as a therapist, I had a plaque in my office and it said, happiness is a destination. Happiness is a journey, not a destination.
Mm,
Happiness is a journey, not a
yes.
destination. Right? And so I'll share that with people sometimes, not to negate their experience, but going off of exactly what you just shared. Life is still happening because the reality is it's going to continue.
Yeah.
to ebb and flow. Right? Losses will happen. We will have like additions to families. There will
Mhm.
be weddings, there will be funerals, there will be birthdays, there will be hospital visits, right? There is a mixture of things that occur in life. And it's definitely not about ignoring the things that cause us pain. Because as you shared, it was like you had a choice, right? It was either I'm going to not have this podcast interview with Azizah because I'm hurting right now and I believe you that you're hurting, or I'm going to decide to continue to have this podcast interview because life is still happening. Right? Like I'm going to make this choice to keep going. And I can still grieve afterwards. I can still honor my pain. I can still do what's needed in order to support myself. But what I'm not going to do is stop. Right?
That part.
Like I'm not going to do
Not
that.
stopping. It just, there will never be a perfect time.
Yes.
There'll never be a perfect time. And giving up is not an option.
Yeah.
I'm tired of delaying my destiny and my joy and
Mhm.
my passion because of, life is still happening.
Yeah.
So guess what? I'm making a choice to be raw and to be vulnerable.
Mhm.
I'm an open book at this point because I know that someone out there can benefit from this. I know my tribe is out there. I know someone who resonate with this message. Standing in my power, standing in my
Mhm.
self-worth, standing in my destiny to power forward and not be afraid of my power anymore, Aziza.
Yes.
That scared me. Oh my gosh, how many people
Mhm.
say, Joe, you have inspired me, you've helped me, you it's because of
Yeah.
you I finished my master's. It's because of you I'm running, started my business. And
Mhm.
that made me afraid because again, we go back to that imposter syndrome. That am I really, the voices from the
Yeah.
childhood, am I really all of that? Am I,
Mhm.
am I really capable of that?
Yeah.
Absolutely I am.
That's
That
right.
is my superpower.
Mhm. And I'm gonna take this opportunity to like make it even more uncomfortable for you and be okay with it. You are powerful. You
Thank
really
you.
are. And before you said it, that's what I'm like. When I start to speak again, I'm just going to speak to how powerful JoAnna is. My business, you're one of the people that spoke to me. And I shared this before when you had the award ceremony where you honored me, and which I'm still just like, you're honoring me, but we spoke about that before I even had a name for this business, before I said that I was actually going to start a private therapy practice. You've seen me have my podcast, I've had the nonprofit, recently the book, and you came to the house to visit. So not only did we have this conversation in a restaurant, I should probably like fill people in, where you were just like, one day we're going to be talking about this story. You're going to be sharing it with people. You're going to be receiving an award. And it was just like so out of the blue, but so inspiring and so matter of factly, like you just knew what was to come, right? And you came to my house, didn't even have all our furniture in there. I think we had like our little blue couch sitting upstairs that was like too small for this huge living room. So I'm like showing you downstairs. I'm like, yeah. And I'm thinking about it. It was a thought. I'm thinking like, this is what I think I want to do. I think I want to start a practice. You were like, you should make down here your office. Like it's perfect. So you have this part of you that's able to be a visionary and speak life to other people. So, yes, you are powerful. And I love that you are acknowledging that and saying, like, I'm not going to hide from that anymore because you've been doing it, touching so many people on a one-to-one basis. Like, you know how many people can just like shine because of your light?
Yeah,
Yeah.
my girlfriend Tasha K, TK, she said, Joe, someone is waiting on you.
Mm-hmm.
Someone needs you and they're waiting on you. And I said, you're right. And I realized, Z, that I was shrinking myself to make other people around me feel comfortable as well. you know, people would, shrinking myself in the room because it would make other people uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just, at that point, I was kind of like, oh, I don't want to, be too big of an energy, or be too
Mm-hmm.
successful, or share, where I'm at, or just, I don't want to shine literally too much in the room because it will make folks uncomfortable, and then they'll start bad mouthing me,
Yeah.
and but that was again me going back to my childhood trauma of not feeling
Yeah.
loved and feeling worthy. And you know how you have back, and some people can relate to this, how you have some family members or friends that say, when you like, oh yeah, I'm going for my bachelor's degree, or I'm going to start this business, or I got a promotion. Oh, you think you're better than somebody. You know
Mm-hmm.
how many times I've heard that?
Wow.
And so that helped me back in a sense, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why or how, Azizah, but I am just able to, when we were at the dinner table, I just felt it. I just knew it. I saw it. And I was like, no, you'll be okay. You're fine. You just need to push
Mm-hmm.
this out of the way, and you'll be fine.
That's right. Yeah. And it touched me sincerely. And I want to share too, like I never felt like I couldn't be myself around you. And even though I'm a therapist, I'm an introvert. And I'll tell people sometimes, like if I'll have like a client that's an introvert, I'm like, I get you. I'm an introvert too. And I'm also an empath, right? So I like
Yeah.
energy is really strong for me. And so you and I have had conversations before, which I'm okay with that. My friend circle is small, not because it's like I'm fearful of being around other people or there's a wall up, but I'm just like,
Hmm.
it's a comfort level for me. And
Yeah.
so you're definitely one of those people where I'm like, yeah, like I open up to you. We talk. You could come when you came that first time to visit. We had that walk around the block. So you're such like the name says, a joy tutor, such a joy to be around. And so don't dim your light, right? Because if you dimmed it around me, then I wouldn't have received the support that was so pivotal for me, because you were being yourself when you were at the dinner table, because you were talking to me like what they say now, like the aunties, like, listen, no. We
I
were
mean,
sitting down eating these chips, and I was like, oh, she is giving me the read. I'm like, okay.
you were like,
Oh,
okay, JoAnna, I just want
yeah.
to tell you this just to give you a heads up. Oh no. Oh no,
Yes.
no, no, no. This, I said, this is the last time you will ever do
Yep.
this.
Mm-hmm.
Would you
That is
ever have another
so true.
conversation like this?
Yep.
No, ma'am. Let me just remind you real
Mm-hmm.
quick who you are. Not only
Yes.
let me take your crown. Where's your pocketbook? Let me put your crown
Mm-hmm.
back on your head, ma'am, and straighten it.
Yes.
One of
Yes.
your little rubies might have fallen off, but don't you go through
Yep.
detail about how your ruby fell out. It's none of their business.
Yeah.
And you can have one of mine. Do do.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And this is where you're gonna be. I say all that to say I done fussed you out, but guess what? Here's a bonus. This is what I see as the path.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe in speaking life into people. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot show up if you can't show up as who you are. And this is me ministering to
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Then how can you even make an impact?
That's right.
I mean, me ministering to you is me ministering to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I always check myself through other people. At
Yeah.
the same time. And
I
here we
hear
are.
you. Here we are.
Yeah.
Yes. So I don't know. I was getting ready to say thank you, but I'm like, am I cutting it short?
You are not cutting it short
Okay.
because we don't need to keep it long. We just need to get to
Okay.
the point because I'm a woman in my 40s. Okay. And the way my sleep is set up.
It felt
Listen,
like the time to say thank you, but I was like, wait,
absolutely.
did I
No,
push
the
the button?
audience, depending on the demographic, our audience is probably
Yes.
like, okay, y'all, we got it in, sis. Okay, let's grab our pocketbooks. Let's call our
Listen.
Ubers.
It was my pleasure though. I enjoyed this whole thing, and I pray that it touches so many people. I really, really do. Yes.
Definitely will. Well, thank you for sharing. As always, I'm always shining a light on my queens so their rubies and their
Yes,
crowns can always shine and sparkle. This is just the beginning.
that's it.
You get to pop back on, in a few weeks or a few months or whatever, just to check in on you,
Mhm.
see how you're doing, and see if you have any more pearls of wisdom for us. So thank you, Miss Aziza.
Yes, you are welcome.
And talk to you soon, huh?
All right, bye.
Bye.
It was so nice for you to hang out with us today. We appreciate your time. To follow us and keep up with our events, programs, classes, check us out at JoyTutor.com and also on social media. You'll find our account under JoyTutor. Have a good one.